Right, I'll begin. My name's Gemma. I am here today to talk to you. Can you all hear me okay? I think I need to keep it very close to my mouth. I'm here today to talk to you about something which is really close to my heart, something that I think will be fundamental in the future and that, embraced by the creative community, has the power to transform and future-proof our industry. I'm talking about radical circularity and how it can transform your brand space. But why does this matter to me? Some context. I am the creative director and co-founder of StudioXAG. We are a global retail experience agency. StudioXAG exists to create wow moments. It's what gets us out of bed in the morning. We're on a mission to inspire brands to ready themselves for the future. Apologies, I've lost my mouse. Here we go. To inspire brands to ready themselves for the future, to tell their stories through diverse spaces and experiences, from show-stopping bespoke installations and immersive events, to pop-up stores and windows all over the world, and to push their purpose with creativity that reaches new audiences with impact to really wow the world. Wow. It's the word you say when you're stopped in your tracks. It captures a whole range of emotions. Surprise, disbelief, delight. For us, it's about impact and impression. It's about making the extraordinary. So that could be this 8-meter-high magical bonsai tree, which we fabricated and suspended over the heads of thousands of Christmas shoppers at Liberty London. Or that could be something like a series of global pop-ups from concept to completion to launch a forward-thinking collection for Karl Lagerfeld. Some of you may recognize the space you can see here at the Galeries Lafayette in central Paris. Whatever the brief, the StudioXAG team do it with a wow. Here's some of them. Over 40 forward thinkers, designers and makers collaborate to bring concepts to life on a global scale. But over the past few years, we've realized that for us, making inspiring spaces isn't enough, and that we have a responsibility to think more about what we put out into the world, to do better for our planet. We believe that it's time to change business as usual. We're a certified B Corp. If you haven't heard of that, check it out. It's a movement that believes in using business as a force for good. We really grapple with the fact that the nature of our work isn't at its core sustainable, so we're developing strategies to tackle that. Our in-house green team collaborate with global changemakers in Habit, who've developed ZAG Zero, which is our in-house innovation we use to measure, reduce, and offset the carbon footprint of our build projects. And the Materials Council educate us and our clients on the most sustainable materials and processes so that we can use them on our projects. Because we really believe that a sustainable approach is fundamental to the future of retail and of our planet. 80% of a product's impact is influenced by decisions that are made at the design stage. We know that we can all make a huge impact if we think differently from the outset of a project. And that's really why I'm here today. I hope to inspire you to think differently about what you create and to take steps towards building a more sustainable future. Simple ideas can make a surprising impact, so that could be using only recycled materials or no plastic on a project. Radical, aspirational solutions can make a real-world impact because they can redefine the status quo. And that's really what we're aiming for with radical circularity. This is a term that we've coined to capture the fundamental shift that we see happening in the world right now. And it's one that's impacting every aspect of how we think and approach the design process, build, and end use. This is the first in a series of reports that we're creating to inspire brands to future-proof and prepare themselves for what's next. Climate change is, as we know, one of the defining challenges of our time. With limited resources and growing consumer demand for sustainable solutions, the change is happening now. We believe that brands that don't adapt and evolve will be left behind. Radical circularity is here to create a more responsible and regenerative future for our planet and for future generations. Here's a quick overview of what I will walk you through today. First of all, setting the scene, understanding what circularity is, why it's relevant, who's at the forefront, And then we'll define the principles of radical circularity with case studies and strategic inspiration you can take back to your business. And finally, we'll look at how we have translated circularity to a retail project. Why now? Today, we're using the equivalent of 1.7 Earths a year to provide the resources we use and to absorb our waste. If we carry on as we are, by 2050, that will rise to 2.3 Earths. The circular economy gives us an alternative with a framework that can inspire a slower and more minimal approach to consumerism. Circular design refers to the creation of products, spaces, and services that move away from the take, make, use, dispose model, creating a closed-loop system of reuse, recycle, repair, resale, and repurpose. This is the shift that we see happening from a linear to a circular approach. So instead of things ending up in landfill, we're revaluing our waste and seeing it as a treasured resource. We're postponing the end of life as long as possible and striving for a continuous loop. To achieve true circularity, we need to move away from individual effort towards a more collaborative approach, considering brands, their communities, collaborators, and the supply chain. We're no longer designing for things to be static and fixed. We need to design for the multiple lives and possibilities of use through, for example, designing for disassembly. So now that we've got the fundamentals, who's leading the way? Freytag is considered a pinnacle in circularity in retail, known for their iconic bags made from repurposed truck tarps. Their circular model is based on the principles of reduce, reuse, and recycle, implementing a closed-loop system that minimizes waste and maximizes the lifespan of its products. Freytag's newest space in Shanghai captures the ethos of the brand, thinking and acting in cycles. What makes this store a pinnacle in circularity? Well, I'll tell you. They aim to reuse materials, so they reduce their use of virgin materials. They sourced any new materials from within a 100-kilometer radius of the store. They had a repair shop, which occupies the entire ground floor. And this is where it gets really exciting. The construction site waste was repurposed into rebirth bricks, which we use for paving. They had a rooftop garden, which gives back to nature, promoting biodiversity and helping to insulate the building. In total, the measures that were taken reduced its carbon impact by 144 tons of CO2 compared to a standard redevelopment, which is quite significant. So before we delve deeper into the world of radical circularity, we're going to take a moment to explore the global, cultural, and behavioral shifts that are informing consumer mindsets right now. And I'm going to take a sip of water. First up, transparency. Today's consumers demand transparency around impact and provenance, especially as greenwashing practices mislead buyers and undermine genuine sustainable efforts. To retain relevance and reputation, brands must provide product history, traceability, and sustainability metrics. Where people spend their money can make a difference, and they prefer brands with integrity and purpose. So what you can see here is an impact receipt from Asket. Not only does it show the carbon footprint of the product that you're buying, but it also shows the water and energy use, an estimated number of wears, and a cost per wear. So it's a really different way of thinking about a receipt. 80% of global consumers believes brands must be transparent about the environmental impacts of the production of their goods and services. Second up, we have legacy thinking. Consumers today are becoming increasingly aware of the impact their consumption has on the planet. The demand for design made to last is rising, and people want to slow down the consumption cycle and reduce waste by considering the longevity and afterlife of products and materials. Durability is now valued over disposability, driving slower, more conscious consumption. Repair, resale, and repurposing play a key role. For example, 65% of Gen Z is keen to alter or mend their clothes to extend the life. Third up, we have escapism, providing a much-needed escape from the worries around global uncertainty and climate anxiety. People long for experiences that stretch the imagination through sensory immersion, bringing experimentation, joy, and wonder to the fore. And this is music to my ears because this is exactly the space that StudioXAG like to play in. Experiencing a little dose of awe can have a range of positive effects on mental health and on well-being, and can increase feelings of social connection and decrease feelings of anxiety, which is really important because 48% of young people have experienced feelings of anxiety, and we believe that spaces and experiences can help to combat this. Fourth up, we have creativity and play. As we move towards a more sustainable future, consumers have a growing desire for creativity, co-creation, and joyful craft. Looking for ways to reduce waste and minimize environmental impact, they embrace playful repair, recycling and upcycling, giving new life to old products and materials to reduce the amount of waste that ends up in landfill. Tomorrow's consumer wants to learn more about how to repair and upcycle their belongings to reduce waste. Gen Z is the most creative generation yet, using social media to showcase their creativity and to connect with others. Finally, we have maximalist vibes. Consumers now are seeking an aesthetic that shows things can be exciting and responsible at the same time. Gen Z love an over-the-top maximalist aesthetic, surreal, warped, overly saturated and sensorial. With designers now prioritizing methods that reduce waste and pollution, the upshot is a vibe that reflects the values of a new generation. A new wave of brands are embracing this aesthetic. Bold, colorful, voicey, they're really reflecting the younger generation's yearning for brighter days. So these are the drivers of change that are reflecting consumer mindsets around the circular retail landscape. Looking for transparency and traceability, legacy thinking, so that's slowing down consumption, considering ways to extend life and reduce waste. In the midst of climate anxiety, seeking a sense of awe and escapism. Creativity and playful co-creation to reduce waste and minimize environmental impact. And lastly, moving away from the traditional sustainable aesthetic, they're going for over-the-top maximalist vibes. So now that we understand the wider consumer landscape, we're going to unpack the principles to become truly circular. The three themes that we're going to explore are treasuring waste, thinking beyond the end, and change-maker collective. In circularity, waste is seen as a valuable resource that can be reused, repurposed, and recycled, rather than a burden that needs to be disposed of. This is being explored in radical ways by contemporary innovators using anything from rubbish to dead stock to carbon pollution, truly treasuring waste. A great example of this is Marine Serre's Autumn-Winter 23 show in Paris, where the brand imagined a future dystopia in which overconsumption and unsustainable habits have led to the planet's destruction, calling on its audience to rethink their role in such issues. Piles of vintage dead stock clothing and fabric scraps were stuffed into 3 huge metal cages. In total, they used 1.3 tons of vintage clothing, which was then transformed into new pieces for their collection. So this made it not only a very powerful statement, but a fully circular set design. Why are solutions like this important? Every year we dump around 2.2 billion tons of waste. According to the World Counts, 99% of the stuff we buy is trash within 6 months, which is shocking. Imagine what we could do with all of that stuff. Trash should be seen as a possibility, a treasured resource extending its life and keeping it in a closed-loop circular system. Another way that we can treasure waste is through recycling. This shop interior for sustainable clothing brand EcoAlf near Madrid is almost entirely 3D printed from 3.3 tons of repurposed plastic waste used to create translucent surfaces that resemble melting glaciers. All of the components used for the store interior can be disassembled, and the plastic itself is almost infinitely recyclable. This approach is important because only 10% of all plastic has ever been recycled. They're really using their platform here to unite design and technology to raise awareness about the climate crisis. To future-proof your brand, think differently. When trash is seen as a treasured resource, waste can become part of the solution rather than a problem, presenting incredible opportunities to progress to a circular future. Applying our creativity to solve these kind of problems has never felt more pressing. opening our minds to new ways of thinking and working to deliver credible, meaningful brand storytelling and spaces that resonate with your next generation of climate-conscious consumers. How can you truly begin to treasure waste? It's crucial to understand the impact of your waste streams and how to improve them. Could there be any opportunities here? Solve the problems with innovative closed-loop circular approaches. Can your brand repurpose, recycle, and even reuse its own waste? Build credible and immersive narratives and environments for your consumers that elevate the story from waste to treasure. Become a creative platform that embraces the repair and reuse culture. A second pillar, thinking beyond the end. When we design, we should not only think about the current state of what we create, we should be planning for the end from the beginning, thinking beyond the end. So that's making to unmake, it's designing for multiple lives, and it's considering disassembly without sacrificing durability or longevity. Monk Eyewear store in London designs with circularity in mind. Almost everything used is either bio-based or recycled. Display plinths are made out of mycelium, which is this amazing fungus-based foam-like material. If you haven't heard of it, check it out. It's magical. The ceiling installation and shelves are made from corrugated panels of compostable cornstarch foam. So this material can be used for packaging or simply dissolved in water when it's worn out. The furniture is expertly built to last, but can also be disassembled for reuse, recycling, or return to the earth as nourishment. Furniture pieces were joined with mechanical bolts rather than glues so that they can be easily taken apart, flat-packed, and reused. Monk delivered an elevated, tactile space with a truly circular approach. Design for disassembly, upcycling, and reuse can make a real-world difference in reducing waste on a global level. Burberry have thought beyond the end, making a bold statement by planting 2 larger-than-life check patterns in natural landscapes. Natural milk-based paints were used to imprint the pattern on volcanic ground in the Canary Islands, and in a meadow near Cape Town, they made the check with hand-planted flowers with help from biodiversity experts. Both installations were intended to be ephemeral, swept away by rain and wind, returning to the earth, in a nod to Burberry's effort to bear no negative impact on the environment and to achieve a climate-positive statement by 2040. In times of rising corporate greenwashing, this is a real demonstration of confidence through a bold commitment and campaign. Being vocal and proud of environmental impact and action is key to regaining consumers' trust, using creative communication like this to convey an impactful and fearless message. Design for disassembly, reusing, and recycling to extend the life cycle are steps in the right direction. A more radical approach, ultimately, is designing for regeneration. Whether that's urban regeneration and community building, or aiming to restore and renew natural resources, your brand output could serve a greater purpose, giving back to the planet and its people. To future-proof your brand, think beyond the end from the beginning by designing for disassembly, so that components can be more easily used and repurposed. Extend the life cycle of your products, spaces, and experiences by designing for multiple lives and purposes. So things like evolving window displays and traveling pop-ups are the first step in this direction. Going further, can you use what you make to support a bigger purpose or support a greater good? Creating something which could positively impact or bring joy to your community, giving it a new life after it's lived its life with you. Take an even more radical approach to circularity. Can you see an opportunity for a project that can restore and renew natural resources, giving back to the earth? Brands of the future will adopt new ways of thinking around circularity. By engaging their communities in meaningful conversation, adopting co-creation and collaborative creativity, they let them share ownership and add value to the wider community and culture, becoming true change-maker collectives. A great example of circularity in the realm of collectivism and co-creation is Nike's latest exhibition at Milan Design Week. ISPA forms a set of design principles: improvise, scavenge, protect, adapt. This is the pinnacle of experimental expression of Nike design. Shoes that can be taken apart, pieced together into a new look, and repurposed properly. The product looks and feels, as you can see, radically new and different. 3 rooms in the Milan space displayed different ISPA models, together with strategies and production techniques used to both eliminate waste and come up with more innovative shoe designs. From inks made from algae and food waste, to bio-based foam soles, to shoes being turned into skateboard wheels, circularity really took center stage here. The brand held a series of workshops, blending physical and digital processes, engaging the audience in the process of creation, inviting them to get their hands dirty and experiment. Daryl Matthews, their head of footwear design, said, "Coming to an audience like this, we're educating ourselves. We get inspiration from these conversations and the reaction that people have towards these product journeys. New manufacturing processes are pushing the boundaries of trainer design. Maybe in the past, the culture wasn't ready for it to stick, so it didn't stick. But it feels like right now is a moment when it's starting to stick, and for good. Consumers are ready now for innovative new approaches and want to be part of the creation story." Moving ahead, consumers will increasingly demand that brands engage their communities in a dialogue, addressing the most pressing issues we face through collaboration and conversation around change, with the brand facilitating as a platform for change. More or Less by G-Star Raw, in collaboration with artist and designer Martin Bass, was another exhibition in Milan. This one intended to highlight the endless possibilities of denim outside of garment production, as well as provoke conversation around habits of overconsumption and the need for both more and less. Bass says, "We want more, we want luxury, and we're all consumers, and at the same time, there's this call for less." The centerpiece of the show is this 15-meter-long private jet, the symbol of luxury and consumption, but it's made from recycled denim, which is made using a textile board from recycled G-Star jeans that were sourced from their stores as part of their Return Your Denim program. This was also used to create a trio of playful jeans cabinets you can see here. The CMO of G-Star Raw said, "In this case, we're spotlighting what our denim waste can become and how we can change waste material into something meaningful that stands out and that makes you wonder and think, because we all want more, but our planet needs less. The creative challenge here is for brands to make more out of less, to engage their audience in meaningful dialogues, and to do it using less wasteful materials, using more of what's already there to do less harm to our planet." As we shift to the circular economy, brands will move from sellers to facilitators, engaging their communities in a meaningful dialogue, coordinating collaboration over consumption, building brand loyalty and relevance, adding value to those communities. Become a custodian of change by using your brand experiences and spaces to create and amplify powerful collective stories. How do you become a true advocate of change? Use your brand platforms to create moments for coordinated collaboration, to form, grow, and nourish your community of change. Don't just educate your customers, let your customers educate your brand. Future-proof brands understand that working together beats operating in isolation. Create a framework for the interconnectedness of sustainability and community. Use your brand experiences and spaces to bring collaborative stories to life through creative executions that take a bold stance for collective circularity. The time for radical circularity is now. Embrace this movement to future-proof your brand for generations to come. Now we're going to look at how to translate radical circularity to a temporary retail space. Coachtopia takes steps in the right direction. Circularity is not something you can achieve by yourself. It includes all aspects of the cycle of production, build, and use, which means it's a shared responsibility of all. The brand and how they create their product, the people, how consumers use, repair, and repurpose or dispose of the product, the place, the brand environment created to promote the product, and ultimately the partners, the team that bring the idea to life, designers, project managers, fabricators, all must be aligned around the core purpose to truly achieve circularity. To quote the head of Coachtopia, When we first set out to launch this new sub-brand, we knew our vision would require significant shifts in thinking, as well as radically new ways of working. Circularity requires us to reimagine not just the product life cycle, but the relationship between brand, planet, and consumer. Coachtopia is a challenge to fashion's linear system, where the majority of products end their lives in landfill. An innovative new line of products crafted from reused leather bags and recycled materials, with a mission to accelerate progress towards a circular economy. Coachtopia is reimagining the brand as a platform for change. Hundreds of Gen Z designers, makers, activists, and consumers were invited to co-create with Coachtopia. Meet the Coachtopians, a true changemaker collective, and they formed a beta community that engaged daily with the brand on their Slack channels to collaborate on products, messaging, and content. Coach are collaborating here to drive innovation and relevance with their audience, giving the community a greater sense of ownership and really building brand loyalty. To bring the Coachtopia story to life in an authentic way, they needed a partner that aligned with their values, which is where StudioXAG came in. Selected for our innovative approach to sustainability, we were challenged to bring their concept to life at Selfridges in London in the most circular way possible. Always echoing the brand and product storytelling to create an authentic, credible space that practiced what it preached. Inspired by Coachtopia's ethos of using leather scraps from the cutting room floor, waste was treasured and transformed into a unique brand space. Coachtopia leather is made from at least 50% recycled leather scraps from the production of their leather bags. In doing this, they're avoiding the creation of new materials, a process that accounts for 38% of the fashion industry's greenhouse gas emissions. Instead of going to landfill, this leather becomes a valuable, eye-catching raw material, giving the space a bold, purposeful look and feel, and making the waste story a core part of the spatial identity. But of course, we needed a substrate to mount the leather to. Here we selected EcoBoard, a carbon-negative material which is made from seasonal agricultural waste like rice, straw, seeds, and corn. These playful plinths form the base structure of the circular pop-up. In store, customers get scrappy, interacting with the waste leather to collaboratively build a large bag image made with waste, reinforcing the product story, but in a really lo-fi, playful, interactive way. How to show your brand as a change maker? Rethink how the brand name itself shows up in the physical space, with maximum visual impact and a holistic circular approach. 3 months' worth of Neon Flex offcuts were collected and threaded into this one-of-a-kind multicolored signage. The salvaged Neon Flex was then backed onto green cast acrylic, which is the world's first 100% recycled and recyclable acrylic. The same approach was used in the window signage, summing up the brand's approach in Selfridges' iconic corner window, a playful and direct communication about waste, made from waste. A real example of the power of treasuring waste as a building resource to communicate an impactful, authentic, and meaningful message. Thinking beyond the end, Coachtopia products have been designed to be more easily repaired, disassembled, and reimagined for second and even third lives. Products are embedded with a unique digital passport that gives transparency on each product's impacts and individual journey as it's used and reused. Echoing the product circular journey, the space was also designed and built for disassembly, to be easily dismantled and reconfigured into new spaces. Bespoke elements, such as a wall cladding in the window and hoarding panels, were given to Selfridges to reuse again and again. Different elements of the main modular design travelled onto different sites throughout the UK, to be reused in multiple pop-ups from large scale to small scale. Other items will live on in the Coach flagship stores. When they eventually come to the end of their multiple lives, all built elements have been constructed in such a way that the parts can be split into single materials to reuse and recycle properly. There's definitely room to improve on this and be more radical in the approach. It's not perfect, but in the context of the current pop-up retail landscape, we've taken big steps in the right direction. And for StudioXAG and for Coach, it was a huge learning curve, and we really relished the chance to do things differently. Frame magazine gave the project great feedback, calling it a powerful and convincing statement about Coachtopia's role in the future of sustainable fashion. That was a real wow moment for us. StudioXAG are known for creating wow moments. Brands seek us out to do exactly that, to surprise and delight their audiences through the power of inspiring retail spaces. Forward-thinking brands trust us to bring their stories to life in authentic, inspiring, and responsible ways. Now is the time to be radical. Don't be left behind. There's an opportunity here to build a better future for us all. Want to future-proof your brand? Get in touch with me. Hi, I'm Gemma. Follow us on StudioXAG on LinkedIn and Instagram. Sign up to our newsletter for more insights direct to your inbox. And if you'd like a copy of the report that I just walked you through, you can find it at studioxag.com. And stay tuned for updates on the next series of Future-Proof. I'm going to open the floor now to questions in case anyone has anything they'd like to ask or any reflections or comments on what you've just heard.